The Painted Veil. There are sides to this movie I like quite a lot, and sides that I don't care for. I thought the acting was fantastic and the cinematography was outstanding, but what really bugged me was the pointless use of flashback narratives at the start of the film and the writing of Edward Norton's character. He was an absolute prick and I seriously could not stand him even if he was a developed character. Still, I thought that this movie got better as it moved on, but it could have started off better. It is a very good period piece, and it depicts the Republic of China in a very interesting way. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of it, I wouldn't rewatch it, but it's a good film, so I'd say it's worth a watch. 7 out of 10. Wolf Creek. I wasn't expecting much from this film, and I really don't have that much to say either, unfortunately. I thought that the film didn't use its runtime all that well. It takes a while to actually start resembling a horror movie, and when it does, you don't quite get the amount of horror material that you'd want. Still, the film is very, very intense and disturbing, and I think that it's still among the better horror films made in recent times. And the villain, I have to say, was absolutely terrifying. In fact, I think he is a fantastic character and would probably be usable in other movies if there were ever to be a sequel to Wolf Creek, but there probably won't, and I don't care. This is pretty good, so I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Out of Africa. I will say that this film has a lot of good things about it. It's well written, it's multi-dimensional, and it is very well acted and directed. However, would I be wrong when I say that this film can often be kind of boring? I don't often say that without some reason. I guess my only real reason, is because some scenes were useless and could have been cut from the movie without a problem. But they didn't drag on for too long, and some of these scenes, they weren't that boring. You know, they were actually somewhat entertaining. Meryl Streep and Robert Redford are great though, and yeah, I just don't think that this movie quite warrants Best Picture. But still, it's a good movie. 7 out of 10. The Crow. I thought that this movie was alright, but I don't really get the cult following it has. Brandon Lee delivers a very good performance, and it does have some nice action scenes, but I just can't help but think it is too much of an exercise in style over substance. Cool themes, fitting lighting and all, but nothing really struck me as being thought out, and I thought the character development was not too great. Maybe that's just me, but I just didn't think very much of this movie at all. So I know this has a fan base, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for that, but I'm sorry, I just didn't care for this movie all that much. 6 out of 10. Chasing Amy. I've been getting into more Kevin Smith movies lately, and this one isn't my favourite, but it is still very likeable. It has some really funny and likeable characters, plenty of cool references to other films like Kevin Smith's movies usually do, like Star Wars, for example. I would have liked to have seen more of my favourite characters from Kevin Smith movies, such as Dante and Randall or Jay and Silent Bob, but on its own, it is a really good romantic comedy, and it definitely is better in quality than the usual film in this genre. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Hatchet. I saw this because I've been wanting to get back into watching slasher films, and this is one that I hadn't seen that always had its name popping up. What do I think? It is an entertaining film, but when you approach it with a critical mindset, you can see that they've made some really bad mistakes. The character development is absolutely pitiful. The first 30 minutes, with the exception of the opening scene, are not very enjoyable, in my opinion that is. The ending was sudden, and the production values are poor. Still, I do think Victor Crowley is an interesting slasher villain. It has some great kills, and it is a nice throwback to older slasher films. Overall, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I thought that this movie was a great family flick. Rick Moranis delivers a really funny, strong performance, but unfortunately, I don't think the child actors could act quite as well. I thought they were actually pretty forgettable. The film is very well paced, never gets boring, and I think that the set design is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was really cool to see how they brought the microscopic backyard to life. And the special effects, they are pretty outdated, but it didn't really bother me. The few problems it has don't restrict its ability to work as a great piece of fun, so I'd really recommend you see this movie if you haven't. I would give it an 8 out of 10. Teen Wolf. There isn't too much to say here, but here it goes. Michael J. Fox delivers a really good performance, the makeup effects are nice, the film has plenty of really funny jokes, and it has a good high school feel to it like any good teen film should. It has some cliches that could have been easily avoided, and there isn't really anything to it once you get over the novelty of Michael J. Fox being a werewolf. A fun movie, but nothing really memorable. 7.5 out of 10. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. This is a very juvenile film, however, that doesn't mean that it isn't highly entertaining. Jay and Silent Bob, created by Kevin Smith, are great characters, and it's nice to see a movie focused solely on them. There are plenty of references to other movies, to my liking, and what really stood out to me was the brief criticism on film school that Chris Rock's character gave us, as well as the cameos by stars like Matt Damon, and the few breaking the fourth wall jokes here and there. This isn't a critics movie, in fact I think it holds like a 55% on Rotten Tomatoes, but plenty of Kevin Smith fans will enjoy it a lot, as I did. I would give Jay and Silent Bob an 8 out of 10. The Adjustment Bureau. This was my favourite film of the films I've watched for this video. Not only is it very original, but it also was executed in the most appropriate manner. Many movies like this have great premises, but they just don't translate from the screenplay to film very well. The Adjustment Bureau is an exception though. The balance between romance and science fiction is done very well. The film keeps you guessing till the end credits. There's some fantastic dialogue, there are many story twists here and there which make it even more fun, and it features great performances by Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. In my opinion, this is one of the most underrated movies from 2011. I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Anyways guys, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.